Great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Monday, July 21st, 2025. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 9:11 on the dot. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. I could prove it. RFK Jr. just said it. Because America comes first with our government. Amazing. It's also the place where the brave, like the veterans we salute today, courtesy of our man John Basiliga and one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems. This is a hard one. Frank Oxtacanalsis. I'm going to bear on this. Oxtacalnis. He was from Ashley. Jerry Nagoda, Browndale. Raymond Kazisek. He was from Oliphant. Robert Gray, Hunlock Creek. Thomas Pigeon, German. And Robert Williams, Berwick. Veterans we lost but celebrate today. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible, amazing, irreplaceable founding fathers. That government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Not any of these things, but is nothing more than the necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom was not to be parceled out to groups. It was not to be controlled by government or government officials because our great Constitution said so, as it ensured and codified freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. We know that deal. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense because that's what we're committed to. And we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you who need it, and most of us do, because they're insane. Yeah. Well, that sanctuary of sanity will be here for the balance of the morning, and you could bathe in it. You could luxuriate in it. You can do whatever you want with it. Just enjoy it. We remind you, though, and it's a cautionary tale, it's not a safe harbor for stupidity. We will not suffer fools gladly. And it isn't because we don't like fools. We do. We love you, in fact. But we just don't have time. We really don't have time for silliness, for foolishness. And so we'll forge on the Club for Common Sense. Now, I hope you all had a good weekend. I did. Friday night, just stayed home. My buddy Steve Tallarico just came over and visited. We had a cigar, and he departed rather early. And then Saturday night, Cutie got back home, and we went to Ragnacci's with Mr. Paul, my friend Tommy Harrison. Had a good gang there. Brother Ron and Joy stopped by. Of course, Rags is there. And of course, my man Murph was there. And a lot of the usual crowd they get on Saturday night. So it was a great weekend. Yesterday, just visited with my son who was in Philadelphia and one of my granddaughters. And my oldest son. So good weekend, and I'm rested and ready to go. You get tired on Monday. I don't know what it is about Monday, but you get tired on Monday mornings for some reason, more than others. But I'm excited. Mondays excite me. It's the start of a new week. There's a lot to do, always, certainly in this world. And one of the things that came out over the weekend, I want to see how it fleshes out. And a number of you sent me information on it. And that was the Tulsi Gabbard statement. Now, she's the director of national intelligence. Remember, that is supposed to be. It's another one of these things. And, George Bush, I really liked him, but he was not a good president. Now, what they were attempting to do, they created a director of national intelligence to oversee the CIA and the NSA, theoretically. Because what we discovered from 9/11 was that all of these intelligence agencies, including FBI, they had their own silos. And what do we mean by a silo? Which means that they kept the information in their, you've seen grain silos. They kept their information to themselves, and it was never cross-pollinated. It was never shared, and it was a glaring reason for 9/11 occurring. So they created this DNI. Well, it hasn't quite worked out the way they thought, which I could have told them back then. But Tulsi Gabbard's in the DNI, which means at least theoretically she's got all access to all of the information. Now, why didn't they want to have her? She's a Democrat, turned independent, just like RFK Jr. Oh, they can't stand when somebody leaves their little ridiculous silo. The Democrat left lunatic and establishment party. So she has pointed out what everybody already knew, that this whole Russia thing with Trump was manufactured by the Obama administration with the help from everybody, including the slimeballs Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, and Biden and Obama. Obama's fingerprints are all over it. Nothing's going to come of it, in my view. They already had their excuses ready. Did you notice that? The excuses were already ready. The lies were already prepared. Oh, no. This was the assessment. Well, they're pointing to a Senate committee that I guess Marco Rubio was involved in. And they're pointing to the special U.S. attorney appointed to prosecute, who was an underwhelmingly mediocre person. So they're pointing at, well, that's where they got their information from you. So in other words, you feed information to a Senate committee and a special counsel. They follow that information because they trust you. And then when you get caught conspiring against Donald Trump, and maybe they thought it was for the good of the nation, but it really was about who's going to be in power. But they conspired against Donald Trump illegally. They knew he hadn't done anything wrong. They knew there was no Russia gate. They knew that Russia did not influence the election that he beat Hillary Clinton on. And the funniest part of it all is that Donald Trump was talking about the election being rigged in 2016. And Obama, in particular, steps up and says, you could never rig an American election. Well, what did they do? They investigated hundreds of millions of dollars by the way, on both sides. And they actually tried to prosecute people for what they knew was a lie. Special counsel appointed, all of that. Insanity. So they're caught and should be completely and irrevocably discredited. All of them. Let us hope normal people do. All right. I look up and my Picardo watch says it's 9:21. And because of that, we need to take a break. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. A little bit from our sponsors who we love. A little bit of history. A little bit of music. And then we'll be back, and you could reach me at 570-883-0098. 570-883-0098 to call or to text. We'll be back. Not the most imaginative song, but maybe back then it was. July 21st, 1958, Murph tells us that Elvis Presley had the #1 hit with Hard-Headed Woman. The song was on the soundtrack for the movie King Creole. And at this time, Elvis was at Fort Hood, Texas, completing basic training. And then, of course, before that, the history moment during the Civil War. First Battle of Bull Run fought near Manassas, Virginia, resulting in a Confederate victory. And it was classic. The doyens of society, they set up a picnic to watch the battle. And we're going to blow them out and we're going to do this. And it turns out to be a Confederate victory. And they had, I guess it spoiled their picnic. Fascinating. One of the trolls texts in, Bob, Trump is just putting up, meaning what I was talking about earlier, disclosing what the Obama and et al. Had done. Bob, Trump is just putting up a smokescreen to take attention off the Epstein case. Why do they have 1,000 FBI personnel going through files to flag Trump's name? Trump was on tape saying Epstein liked them young. Trump knew and said nothing to help them girls. So, all right, so troll. See, this is classic. I'm not going to answer your silly accusations. But I'm going to ask, like, you don't care. This is amazing. You don't care that the government lied to you, treated you like a stupid buffoon, saying that Trump was involved in Russia, special counsel appointed, all kinds of investigations, all kinds of publicity, all lies. They made it up. You don't care that the head of the FBI, the head of Central Intelligence Agency, John Brennan, what was Clapper in charge of? Another security guy. You don't care that they lied to you, that they used their government positions, that Barack Obama lied to you. You don't care. Because, I mean, if it wasn't this excuse, if it wasn't the Epstein story excuse, you'd have another one. Because you don't even think about what the establishment and the left and the Democrats did. That is one of the worst scandals in history, that they used their offices to undermine a president of the United States, a sitting president of the United States. You don't care. Because it's what? Because it's Donald Trump? You sound like an ass, and you must be. Because you don't care about the reality, the truth, the sad fact of all this. It's unbelievable. And by the way, I guarantee you don't care that Joe Biden was not mentally competent to be president. Not just be the awful president that he would be without losing his marbles. Because he was never qualified. He was always an idiot. He was always a buffoon. But you didn't care about him being a buffoon. You didn't care that you never voted for him in a primary, a Democrat primary, because he never made it past Iowa prior to winning the election. So you don't care about any of the reality. I don't know. That's why it's virtually impossible to have an intelligent conversation with these people. And I'm sorry, troll. By the way, you helped me bring out a lot of points. So keep it coming. Keep your stupidity coming. I'm fine with it. Don't think it bothers me. It actually, it's beneficial. It's educational. Now, I guess I'm not going to get to it now. But I've got something after the news, after the weather, after our Veterans Tribute. I want to show you. It's a perfect illustration. because it was on our own news here on WILK. I want to show you how you're constantly being brainwashed. It's scary. It's ridiculous. The Hospital Health System Association of Pennsylvania, they issued a press release, and it was read whole cloth on the news. And this happens all the time. Not just here, everywhere. Now, I'm going to read the release. I'm going to point out, when I read the release, how it is full of lies. And we'll deal with it. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. We'll be back. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. And let's just mention one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems in Jessup. They're a commercial roofing company doing institutional, commercial projects all over the eastern seaboard. But they bring all that expertise to you, to your home, right here in Northeast Pennsylvania. The only place you can get them to do residential. Eastern Roofing Systems. Check them out. Frank Oskstakalnis. He was from Ashley. He passed away June 30th. He was only 75. He was a U.S. Navy veteran of the Vietnam War, serving from July 70 to July 74, attaining the rank of BT-2. Subsequently, he was employed by our very own VA Medical Center here in Plains Township until his retirement. Member of St. Leo the Great Parish, Holy Name Society, Knights of Columbus. He enjoyed gardening, the New York Times crossword puzzle. Surviving is his loving wife of 42 years, Beverly. Sons and many other family members. Frank Oskstakalnis. Jerry Nagoda. Formal name, Gerald. He was from Browndale. He was only 63. Fondly known as the Tile Guy. Passed away on June 26th after a 6-month battle with cancer. Born in St. Joseph Hospital, Carbondale. And that was a great hospital. He was the first Nagoda son born in the family, and cigars were handed out to mark the occasion. Known for his infectious humor, generous heart, a knack for making people laugh, did Jerry. For over 30 years, Jerry ran a successful tile business, proudly delivering top-notch craftsmanship and dependable service. He lived life to the fullest. Proud member of Christ Episcopal Church in Forest City and a dedicated member of the Carbondale American Legion. Found joy and friendship at Tuesday night bingo. He's survived by his sons, Sean, with whom he resided, and another son, Ryder, stepchildren, and grandchildren, and many other family members. Jerry Nagoda. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems. Meteorologist Anthony Bordenaro. Today, sunny and less humid, high 76. Tonight, partly cloudy and cool, 52. Tuesday, mostly sunny, 78. Wednesday, partly cloudy, 84. Oh, Bordenaro just gets right to it, doesn't he? I like that. Bobby Vinton. Murph tells us this date, 1962. This was the number one hit. Roses Are Red. And before that, I love Brandon Tatum. Former cop, and he just does these things, and I pick him up off of Instagram. And Shane Gillis is hilarious. Always is. He's got a great Trump imitation. So we played that before that. But Shane Gillis brought to you by Brandon Tatum, which I thought fascinating. All right, let's quickly, I want to read this. This is a news story now. And this is how it works. Around 25 rural hospitals in Pennsylvania could shut down in coming years due to congressional Republicans' decision, not the country's decision. Okay? Please. Anyway, congressional Republicans' decision to slash Medicaid. Now, there's lie number one. Medicaid is going to go up $2 trillion in the next year, or in the next 10 years. Medicaid spending. All right. So there's number one absolute lie. Continues. A crucial health insurance program covering about 3 million Pennsylvanians and 78 million Americans. Okay, we won't argue with that. They don't mention the non-Americans that it covers, though. They don't mention the lazy Americans that it covers, but that's a separate issue. It continues. In addition to potential hospital closures. Now, I live here. We just mentioned St. Joseph's Hospital in Carbondale. Carbondale had 2 hospitals. Marion Community hung on the longest. But I believe it closed since Obamacare. Obamacare has been an abject disaster for health care in this country and for health care coverage. And please separate the two. And what about Tyler Memorial? Did they scream and cry and whine about that? I could give, well, the short version is, our wages are so low here in Northeast Pennsylvania that we are subject, our healthcare institutions are subjected to rural reimbursement rates, meaning they get given less money than a city would be given. Even though we're cities, even though we have every cost they have in other places. Never corrected. But all of a sudden, it's the problem with the big mediocre bill. Let's continue. In addition to potential hospital closures, lie number 2. Well, there's always potential hospital closures. We have the Commonwealth Health. They tried to close in Scranton 2 hospitals in downtown Scranton. 2 hospitals. They tried to close. They've been trying to close for years. But it has to do with their company and their company's problems, in addition to this rural reimbursement scheme. Now, let's continue. In addition to those, hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians are expected to lose health coverage due to $1 trillion in Medicare cuts over the next decade. There are no cuts. That is a complete lie. It continues. This was on the news now, remember. These cuts will result in lower Medicaid reimbursement rates for hospitals. That already happened. I just explained why. So there's another lie. And an increase in uninsured patients turning to emergency departments for care. Endless Mountains Health System CEO Lawrence Stone expects his company will lose about $500,000 over the next decade due to Medicaid cuts. The projected cuts, remember that important word? Projected cuts stem from the lower Medicaid reimbursement rates under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It's linked to the Hospital Health System Association of Pennsylvania. So lies and propaganda right into the news. And this happens all the time, not just here, everywhere. This is what we've got to deal with. And they keep lying about Rob Bresnahan and the vote he took and the promise he made. Now, if Medicaid goes up $2 trillion in the next 10 years, would you call that a cut? Please tell me. Please tell me how that's a cut. I want to know. I really want to know. And by the way, the other thing overlooked by the Hospital Health System Association of Pennsylvania in their lying release, which was read as though it was news, is that we don't have the money. Did anybody get this yet? We don't have the money. $2 trillion a year in deficits, 37 plus trillion in national debt. It's about to destroy our economy. That's never mentioned. Unbelievable. Scary. This is what passes for news these days. Rip and read and from an advocacy group. and so, ladies and gentlemen, when you're listening to the news, when you're listening to, news, you're listening to CNN, you're listening to MSNBC, know this. They are lying, and they're saying the exact opposite of that which is true. That involves their news programs as well as their opinion programs. All right, Bloomberg Money Minute. We'll go to that. We'll be back. This date, 1965, Barry Maguire released his hit Eva to Destruction. What New York and Minneapolis will be if they vote for these Democrat socialists. Well, these communists. It's insane. We've gotten to the point of insanity. We really have. By the way, Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court has upheld a ruling reaffirming that Lackawanna County's Home Rule Charter is the guiding authority in filling the commissioner's seat left vacant by former Democrat Commissioner Matt McGloin. So that means that Bill Gaughan, the man who gave us Biden Street and a 25% tax increase, well, that means that he loses his power struggle with Marty Flynn, our state senator. It's just insanity. By the way, having problems with your text, just so you know. I don't know what happened. Something popped up, and I don't understand it. But it's not our texts. I just don't have them. So we're going to try to work on that and effort that. In the meantime, we got a minute to go. Let's go to Luciano from Luzerne County. Hi, Luciano.
Thank you, Bob, for taking my call. I got two questions and one comment and a question to you as a trained lawyer. I was talking to a black conservative. He happens to have been Catholic, African-American. We had a heavy discussion yesterday. I want your opinion as a lawyer. Is it cruel and unusual punishment what Donald Trump is now doing, where he's stripping migrants, illegals, undocumented, whatever you want to say? I was talking to Lenny, a black gentleman. What Donald Trump is doing, he's stripping them of medical coverage, of food stamps, of housing. Seniors are living on the streets, senior citizens, and they're giving all this housing, subsidized housing for taxpayers to undocumented migrants. They're giving welfare now. That's a lie. They're giving welfare to illegals. They're also giving subsidized other programs to migrants, and such as driver's license. Do you think it's cruel and unusual punishment for the Donald Trump's administration to be stripping?
Well, I mean, just to be clear, Luciano, to be clear, cruel and unusual punishment has to do with criminal prosecutions. So it doesn't have to do with the setting. Taking away, they don't have rights to government benefits, period.
I get you're a trained lawyer. Thank you for telling me that, because these two ladies are bleeding heart liberals, and I was telling her that I lived on the streets, and this is why I approve of what Donald Trump. And one last thing, he also put in effect, this is going to drain the swamp of all these migrants. They're going after employers that are enforcing E-Verify nationwide, where they're taking migrants that are using fake Social Security cards and fake ID. I know where you can get some of them in Philadelphia, North Philly. There are organizations that are giving these migrants fake Social Security, fake IDs, and they're working.
Well, they were able to. Wait a minute. It's worse. It's worse than that. Under Joe Biden, 2.5 million illegals got Social Security numbers from the Social Security Administration. They didn't need fake ones.
I agree, Bob. And you as a trained lawyer, these two ladies were ramming this nonsense, bleeding hearts. They're attacking the black man. He's supposed to be racist because he's a conservative.
Yeah,
now, these two white women were calling him Uncle Tom and calling me an Oreo. So you do approve of going after migrants that are working. By the way, in Omaha, Nebraska,
let me say this. I agree with the original statement from the Trump administration, the original policy, which I think they're still following, is that we're going after the criminals first, because there's so many, and there's 40 million illegals in this country. 40 million.
I agree, but Bob, one last thing. Just as Lenny was saying, when the Omaha, Nebraska, these employers that are hiring roofers illegally and
Yeah.
construction workers, you know, the next day there was 8 African Americans that are applying for the judge because these construction workers did not want to give migrants medical coverage, and we reduced like $10 less than what they give American citizens. So Lenny was right, and you're right. Right?
I'll be waiting to see how many employers get prosecuted. I wish more would, but I doubt it.
E-Verify is going to kick in. E-Verify is going to get kicked in because of Biden administration, Tom Holden. Thank you, Bob.
All right, man. Thank
you.
you.
I get emotional about this topic.
Always a pleasure, Luciano. Thank you. Keep fighting the good fight out there, my man. Well, we're way past, because when I look at my Picardo watch, and remember, they sell Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, and Seiko. Picardo Jewelers, it's your every watch store. The time is 10:03. We'll be back after the news. Great good morning, everyone. It is 10:11 and 30 seconds on my Ricardo Jewelers watch here in the great Northeast this beautiful Monday, July 21st, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values. And with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and one of his great companies we're saluting today, Eastern Roofing Systems, headquartered in Jessup, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like today's veterans we're honoring thanks to John. Frank Oxtakalnis, Ashley, Jerry Nagoda, Browndale, Raymond Sizek, Oliphant, Robert Gray, Hunlock Creek, Thomas Pigeon, German, and Robert Williams, Berwick. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising a sanctuary of sanity for the balance of the morning for all of you who need it, and we all do. Hey, Mother Teresa, for July 21st, talk about grounding ourselves. She says, I have met many famous people, successful people, wealthy people, powerful people. None of us, not you or me or them, ever do great things. But we can all do small things with great love. And together, we can do something wonderful. St. Teresa for today. Thank you, Mary Regina. Hey, by the way, just a quick juxtaposition. The British Open was not as much fun as usual, but Scottie Scheffler, who I really like, he was the winner and sort of going away. He was up by 3 strokes, and he just wasn't going to give the lead up. And he wins. Now, I juxtaposition him with Coldplay Man. And the Coldplay story doesn't interest me even in the least. It really doesn't. It's funny. It's whatever. And I'm talking about the guy who got caught with someone other than his wife on the kiss cam at the Coldplay concert. Now, doesn't make him a bad guy, and I'm not even attempting to say that. But what I'm saying is this. Scottie Scheffler says that these victories in golf, it's all fleeting. It's good for the moment. But I am grounded in Christ. I'm grounded in my faith. And these victories in golf mean very little in the scheme of things. And then you have, and all of us do it. We don't get caught at Coldplay concerts, but all of us sin in one way or another, in one type or another. And then you have this guy who is not grounded and is now unemployed. I don't feel sorry for him or anything. I just, And so, and I don't know what happened with the woman. I don't know why they don't announce about her. I mean, if you fire the guy, the girl's got to get fired too. Am I correct on this or am I wrong? Anyway, he was sort of following the flow of his moment-to-moment passions, and his position as CEO and being a big shot swept him away to the point where he's lost quite a bit, if not everything. And here's Scottie Scheffler winning one of the most prestigious golf tournaments in the world. And he says right out, this is not what's important to me. This does not fulfill me. Well, Coldplay Man probably should take a lesson from Scottie Scheffler, who is, probably 20 years his junior. So a 29-year-old guy has the wisdom, and the 50-some-year-old CEO does not. I just found that juxtaposition, and I don't know, maybe I made that juxtaposition up, but I saw them as two lives and how they're being led. Just, hey, you go one way, you can go the other. And all of us go the other. Maybe even Scotty Scheffler does. Remember, he had to brush up with the cops way back when. I don't know that he was right, wrong, or indifferent, but we could all get swept up in nonsense. And Scotty Scheffler, from all appearances, will not. Hey, guess what? It's Monday. It's time for Monday Musings. And we'll probably have to take him through a couple of breaks because I have my rant. But here he is, our man, John Perillo. How are you, John?
I'm good, Bob. How are you?
Great.
Hey, great Scotty Scheffler story. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's a real. I mean, he's the real deal, boy. I really like him.
But I think you used the correct word, wisdom. That's a lot of wisdom for a young person. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And I want to apologize for missing last week. I'd messed up on my time zone calculation. Being out in Mountain Time, apparently I can't count up by 2. So I apologize to your listeners for that. But it's good to be back. And 2 weeks ago,
well, you know what's sad, John? Time is flying so quickly that it seems like it's a week ago we talked to you. It's just sad. It's that sad. But time's flying past us. I can't. It's running through my fingers.
Yeah, and it accelerates as you get older. I'll tell that to Scotty as well. So, and 2 weeks ago we kind of explored how the constitutional process is the answer in a divided society, and that by having a process that allows everybody a voice, even those with whom we disagree, we kind of ensure that everyone feels that the system's working for them, and that more importantly, that system was the right hedge against our drift towards civil conflict. And I wanted to continue our celebration of the birth of our nation on July 4th. I know I missed a week. So by looking at our national identity and unity and how, once again, our foundational philosophies are the key to our identity crisis. And since we're discussing national identity and civil conflict and tribalism, I thought we could explore today some of the parallels around what President Lincoln faced since he presided over a time of great disunity and a time of racial and civil conflict. And remember that any time anyone says that this or that or the other problem is unprecedented, you should take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why we study history and the ancients is because human nature never changes, and that many of the problems that we have today are just the same as the problems that they had, and it may be exacerbated by technology, but always caused by the fallible nature of man. And, so back to the 4th of July and the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration is the foundational document of our country. And in it, we have what we could call the aspirations of a new nation. The Constitution is a document that attempts to put those aspirations into practice. And think of it as philosophy versus law. Philosophy is what we think about an issue, and law is our attempt to put it into practice. And during the run-up to the first Civil War, even those in the South who wanted to leave the Union actually agreed with Lincoln that both the Declaration and the Constitution were foundational. Their error, of course, was to think that the principles held in both documents applied only to whites. And we know that that is false, no matter what you have heard elsewhere, because our founders told us so in documents like the Federalist Papers. And the phrase, all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, closely echoes the New Testament, and particularly Galatians 3:28, which says, there is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And again, I understand that the sentiment that we shouldn't have schools teaching religion. Always understand that it's impossible to understand history without religion.
Without religion.
Right? So,
yep.
Right. So if you put those two documents, those two declarations side by side, it becomes pretty obvious where our founders got the concept. So in the Declaration, you see that the founders intended what they intended, even if they didn't have the Federalist Papers to back them up. You can just read the Declaration and you get that. So none of this is to diminish the fact that even after the Civil War, it wasn't until 1965 and the Voting Rights Act that the shenanigans put in place to prevent blacks from voting in certain states were finally pushed aside in their entirety. But my point here is one of intent, right? And anyway, in the run-up to the Civil War, the young nation had just lost its last big external threat in Great Britain. And prior to the War of 1812, that mutual threat actually served to unify the country. And feel free to stop me if any of this sounds familiar, right? With that threat gone, Lincoln wanted to ensure that the nation lived up to its foundational philosophies by eliminating this stain of slavery, as he called it. And what we see today after the dissolution of the USSR is something similar, right? We don't have the common enemy that helped unite us. And once again, we have people in our midst who claim that our foundational documents were racist in origin and that we should ignore them. And on the other side, we have the inability to admit that real racism existed and still exists. Right? And even if we grant good intent to those with whom we disagree, and I admit I'm not really great at doing that at times, it seems that the only way we know how to talk about identity in the U.S. today is not to talk about the nation, but rather to talk about race, gender, sexual preference, religion, anything but our nation. So back to the Civil War. So without the British to unite them or the Soviet threat to unite us, we faced and face a crisis of greatly fractured domestic politics. And we had secessionalists, and now many in the U.S., who believe that our foundational documents were put in place only for whites. And we have conservatives who rarely know what it is they want to conserve. And generally, neither side can articulate why slavery was permitted. And it was officially permitted in the new country. And it was permitted because compromises were made for the sake of the Union, which many thought was necessary for our young nation's very survival. And unless the states united, there was a very real threat of attack, not just from the British, but also from the French and the Spanish. And that situation, was very different back then. So, slavery was tolerated temporarily, and its existence was officially permitted, but with an expiration date from the very start. Because the alternative was 13 states individually fighting for their survival against the most powerful countries in the world. And a reasonable person should ask, in addition to why slavery was permitted to exist in the U.S., why did the end of slavery start with Western civilization, specifically the United States and Great Britain? And if our foundational documents were hopelessly racist, then over 350,000 men died, ending that, quote, peculiar institution as fools. And I don't think that's a fair reading of our history, and it certainly dishonors their memory, right? And for us today, there are parallels that we can study. We discussed, 2 weeks ago that both conservatives and progressives sometimes are a little bit too willing to abandon the process set forth in the Constitution in order to get certain results, even if we agree with the results. And progressives don't believe that our country's foundational philosophy even matters because they tend to believe, in addition, that the country is hopelessly tainted by racism, that the world is headed towards a place of kind of greater unity and a stateless future where organizations like the EU and the UN supplant the very need to have individual countries with individual needs and cultures. And if they are right about globalism, then their attack against America's founding documents and philosophies actually has some logic to it, right? It almost makes sense. And like you've heard me say maybe once or twice before, another reason why we study history is to see what happened the last time some of these ideas came up. And in fairness, today's progressives aren't the first to believe in the end of nations, and nor are they the first largely anti-religious movement. And I don't mean to imply that progressives are immoral, rather that they don't acknowledge that religion is the foundation of morality. And again, what we talked about earlier, you don't have to teach religion in schools to understand that religion is foundational to history, right? And it would take more time to get into the results of the Enlightenment and other scientifically based moral and political movements than we have time for here. But the summary is that they generally end in oppression because somebody has to be in charge, human nature being what it is. And in the absence of religion, of all men being, created equal, somebody gets to abuse somebody else, right? But Lincoln believed in our foundational principles in a time of truly great disunity. And he didn't view the Declaration of Independence as a Dear John letter to King George III. He saw it as the aspirations of a people that was unique in the world and in history, and he was right. And what we celebrated in our Declaration on July 4th is really extraordinary. And much of what we take for granted about the world that we live in today was truly revolutionary. I know I'm using the word. At the time that the document was written, he used the word creed, which is a religious term, and it represents a list of those core beliefs that are unchangeable. And in religion, we might change a practice, something like a diet or when we kneel or the like, but the creed never changes. And the Declaration, as our creed, presumes the need for politics. And like we said before, politics is the art of putting your philosophy into practice. And creed is our country's, and the creed of our country presumes certain capital T truths, one of which is that there is a creator, and that from that we get our unalienable rights. And that means that those rights exist no matter what anybody else says, because they don't come from other men, and nor are they given to us by permission of the government. They're ours because of the very nature of our creation. Bob honors vets daily, and I really appreciate that. And that is very important because as they pass away, our connection to what they fought for tends to diminish as well. Well, believe it or not, President Lincoln was concerned that the country at the time was losing its patriotic connection as well, because our revolution was becoming an old memory even then. So it's not unreasonable that people today have lost some of their understanding of the revolutionary principles. Lincoln, even then, was speaking to the young people of the nation about the danger of mob rule and anarchy, and Lincoln appealed for a reverence for the law. And he makes it clear that our country and the glory of our revolution wasn't just in defeating tyrants, but in creating a legal order that protected the rights of citizens, all of the citizens, right? There will always be wars, and there will always be those who embrace tyranny, and always remember that no amount of order is worth the loss of our unalienable rights. And to my progressive friends, I would say, have some modesty about your ability to manage power in contravention of human nature. And to all sides, we need to go back and read the Declaration again. It contains capital T truths as well as the philosophy that created the greatest nation on earth. And it would be excessively foolish to think that somehow we know better today. And it's part of the reason why I keep going back to this theme in these segments, and I hope it's useful to you and your listeners. How did we get here? Let's not abandon those things, and let's try to understand them so we can carry them forward.
Amen. John Perillo, Monday Musings, and a good one today, John. We appreciate it. Look forward to next week, my friend. Let's hope the days don't pass so quickly, though.
Right, and let's hope I can still count to 2, Bob. I appreciate your patience with me. We'll get this right.
All right, my man. John Perillo, Monday Musings. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. And we'll feature one of his great companies today, Eastern Roofing Systems, one of the premier and largest commercial, institutional roofing companies in the eastern United States and beyond. And guess what? They bring all that expertise back here to Northeast Pennsylvania. They're headquartered in Jessup. And they'll come and do your house. They'll come do your small business. Projects large and small, Eastern Roofing Systems. Raymond Sayazek. He passed away in Golden, Colorado on June 10th. He was 100 years old. A devoted husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. He lived a life filled with love, generosity, and dedication to family. Born in Oliphant, PA, in 1924. As soon as he graduated from high school in 1941, he started serving us in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Following his naval service, he attended the Scranton University and Penn State, graduating in 1949 with a degree in industrial engineering. He married his childhood sweetheart, also of Oliphant, Ann Letak. That was back in November of 1949. He then embarked on a career in government service in Washington, D.C., primarily with the Department of the Navy. After retiring from government, he was employed as Vice President for Planning Research Corporation in McLean, Virginia. In 1990, he and his wife, Ann, moved to Delray Beach, Florida. His wife, Ann, also of Oliphant, preceded him in death back in 2024. They had been married for 74 joyous years. They had 4 children who survived them, 6 grandchildren, and great-grandparents to 7 great-grandchildren. He'll be buried at St. Michael's Cemetery in Blakely. Raymond Sayazek. Robert Gray. Mr. Gray was from Hunlock Creek. He was 69 when he died June 20th. Born in Wilkes-Barre, graduate of the West Side Vocational Technical School. He was a welder for Intermetro Industries for over 50 years, including serving as president of the Steelworkers Local Union. He served 8 years in the Army National Guard, avid hunter and fisherman, loving husband, father, and grandfather and uncle. He was known for living life to the fullest. Survived by his wife of 50 years, Cherie, a son, a daughter, grandchildren, and many other family members. Robert Gray, our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems, headquartered in Jessup. From meteorologist Anthony Bardinero, today, sunny and less humid, 76. Tonight, partly cloudy and cool, 52. Tuesday, mostly sunny, 78. Wednesday, partly cloudy, 84. And then I heard Nancy talking about it in the morning news. It's going to get hot again as we head towards the weekend, which I like. But I know everybody doesn't. And not everybody can put up with it. By the way, our friend Jeannie from Plains texting in. She said they found another reason to attack Trump, the Epstein files. They will never stop. Don't believe he had anything to do with Epstein, and nobody brings up Bill Clinton, Monica in the Oval Office. It's a shame what the evils are trying to do to Trump. We need to pray for him for the sake of the country. And please pray for me. I'm not doing well, Bob. Prayers to you, Jenny. Prayers to you. Please get better. God bless you. And thank you for being with us. Another, Bob, all the Democrats do is lie. Donna Brazil of George Stephanopoulos saying inflation and gas prices at an all-time high. They just say it. It is amazing, isn't it? It's all they have is lies. Like, just say, look, we disagree with taking illegal aliens off of Medicaid. And here's why. We disagree with taking able-bodied people off of Medicaid. And here's why. Don't lie and say there's Medicaid cuts. We talk about the lie that's been rampant in the news regarding Medicaid cuts they're not happening. And can we argue from a basis of truth, fact, and reality, and then we'll have our differences. This is what's happened to the Democrat Party and those adherents who either haven't paid attention to the lunacy that now guides that party, or who believe in the lunacy to start with, which is even worse. Somebody texts in, Bob, the media and Democrat Party work hand in hand. They lie about everything. That's why they're both of the approval ratings are in the toilet. I know it. Everybody's like, enough people get it, except the people that don't want to. And I don't know why that. I can't figure it out. I really can't figure out. You have somebody texting in about the Epstein files with Trump. Well, by the way, since we are not cult members, we criticize Trump for his handling of the Epstein issue. It's not important, but we criticized him. And he relented. We'll see how it turns out, but we're not going away on this issue. But you don't even care that the Obama administration, led and directed by Barack Obama, actively lied and tried to undermine a presidency of somebody they didn't like. It's ridiculous. How did we get here? The days when I was a Democrat, there were not many, but there was a few. There was a few years when I was a Democrat. I mean, we agreed on the basic facts. We agreed on fact, truth, and reality. And from there, you launched into whatever your opinion was, but you didn't ignore facts. You didn't ignore truth. You didn't ignore reality as a Democrat, most of them. Now they do, and they just... We've now observed, and think of the budget. All of their pals in nonprofits and NGOs taking $1 trillion a year of our tax money and spending it on themselves. Never mind the transgenders in Bolivia. The money never got there. That was the real scandal. The insanity of the programs promoted was one thing. But most of the money stayed here with their pals. Your tax money in a $2 trillion a year deficit setting. It's crazy. I don't know. All right, well, he was mad at me last week. Let's see what the temperature is this week. It's Larry from Plymouth. Hi, Larry.
Hi, Bob.
How are you, buddy?
I'm okay. But Bob, you're talking about, the people don't care about anything except the Epstein thing. Well, I care about it all, Bob. I want to see.
I don't. See, you're a conservative. I don't count you in this leftist crowd that's denying fact, truth, and reality. You're not part of that.
Okay, Bob, but I care about it all. I care about Comey and all of them. I hope they were thrown in jail. But the thing I care about Epstein, Bob, I want to know who the slimeball pedophiles are in Washington, and I want them all out of there.
I'm with you.
They are. And Bob, I don't follow anybody blindly.
Correct.
The last time people followed somebody blindly, a little corporal came to power, and that didn't work out too good.
Yeah.
But I hope they find that. I hope they find all of it. I really do. But I just don't go for Trump backing off of this. I don't know what the problem is or whatever. But I think
now, again, Larry, we probably differ on this. But what I think is this, and Trump does this all the time. He exaggerates. Okay.
Well, he actually sometimes lies, Bob.
Well, I haven't detected many of those, but and by the way, very few of consequence. Just silliness. It's about silliness.
Okay.
So he's exaggerated on what we were going to discover for election purposes on the Epstein files.
Okay.
And they got into them because they finally had full access to them.
Okay.
And they found out they were wrong. That's a big part of this. But the rest of it is there are names, and it's okay. So you're on the plane with Epstein. Did you molest a preteen child or a teenager? That doesn't necessarily flow through. That's where they're having problems.
Okay. All right. Okay, but I got to ask you one more thing, Bob. Now I hear you. You're.
And by the way, I don't think he's protecting himself at all. As somebody just texted.
Well, no.
Yeah,
somebody. In fact, Bob. In fact, Michael Cohen said when he was his lawyer, he never heard the Epstein name mentioned.
Yeah, and Trump cut off.
And he's a scumbag, so he's not really sticking up. But anyway, I want to ask you one question, Bob. You're an expert on watches now. I want to ask you a question.
No, I'm not an expert on watches, but go ahead.
Okay, do you know what a tourbillon is, Bob?
No.
Okay. A tourbillon, that's the movement. It was invented in 1795 by a guy named Abraham Louis Breguet. And back then, they only had pocket watches. So he figured that the pull of gravity on the internal parts of that watch would make it wrong a couple minutes a day. So he built a movement that compensated for that. And you have to, it has a 30-hour reserve. You have to wind it every day. But I have one of them, Bob.
How about that? Well,
and
you gave me a beautiful
Picardo
watch.
On there you had Picardo on there talking about a meteorite dial.
Mm-hmm.
I got one of them too.
How about that? Well, you gave me a beautiful
bring
watch,
up a little
Larry.
bit on the watches, Bob.
I wear the Picardo watch and the Larry watch.
Well, maybe you don't have to lie about it if you don't. But
I do.
But Bob, I like. I'll tell you what, Bob. When I go out with my watches, almost every time I go out, somebody will say, "Hey, where'd you get that?" Almost every time.
Well, you should stop at Picardo's. There's a great watch store.
I'm gonna stop. Where is that, Bob?
On Jefferson Avenue in Scranton. Jefferson Avenue and Spruce Street. It's called Biden.
Wait, now is that anywhere near like the main Dragon?
Yeah, it's right as soon as you get off the expressway. You drive almost right into it. It's catty corner from the Radisson Hotel.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful store.
Because I could always use more, you know.
Beautiful store.
Okay. You take it easy, Bob, but we got to start agreeing on stuff.
Well, we had a pretty good conference today.
Wasn't bad. I wasn't a bad guy today.
Yeah, all right, Larry.
No, but Bob, another thing, too. I don't want no aliens in this country for 20 years.
Yeah, well, wait till we're gone. I know. I'd rather not deal with them.
Okay, Bob.
All right, Larry.
I'll see you. Bye.
Larry from Plymouth. We'll take this break. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. The Beatles. They began recording John Lennon's song Come Together at Abbey Road Studios, London. This date, 1969, Murph tells us. Had a good night with Murph on Friday night at Rags's. Bob Cordaro back on the eponymous program. So, somebody texts in, Bob, I was holding a dozen eggs in Walmart yesterday. $2.72 a dozen. Gas at Costco in Virginia, $2.76 a gallon. The Democrats lie about true reality. So insane. Bob, you're so right. And I don't get it. Somebody else, Bob, if Trump was on the Epstein list, Biden would have released it. No doubt about it. And another, Bob, LTS. LTS back at you. Well, this is Art W. He says, how about Obama being exposed? We won't see an indictment. That I'd be surprised at. But the exposure is the victory, I guess, for Trump. And he'll probably pardon Obama to prove a point that he's better than those who are trying to destroy him. Well, he certainly is, by the way. And somebody else, Bob, rather than be true, strong, decent thinking adults, we've become a society of trash talkers and lightweight thinkers. I think Trump had associations with Epstein, but not relationships with his lifestyle. So people will see that and draw the wrong conclusions. None of us is perfect, and I believe Trump is basically decent, so perhaps that is the issue. LTS. Back at you with that. Let's go to Bill from Pittston. Bill, how are you, my man? Hi, Bill.
I'm doing good. How about you?
Great.
How you doing?
All's well.
Good. Yeah, I was looking at comparisons to this would-be mayor of New York, and I was thinking of Huey Long and how he promised all this stuff. And, of course, he was brutally shot, but not saying that's what's going to happen to the communists. And then I was thinking about movies of parallel this, too, like Heaven Above, where that Anglican priest gives all this stuff away and it turns into disaster, gives all this free stuff. And another movie, Facing the Crowd, with Andy Griffith.
Huh. Well,
have you ever seen any of those?
No, I have not. Looks like I've got some movies to watch.
Really, watch Heaven Above. It's hilarious, but it's spot on when it comes to the way free giveaways and social gospel that goes crazy.
Bill, I don't know. I mean, it's looking like he's going to be elected because of the field is so crowded. Now, will the young people come out and vote for him again? My best guess is they will, but I don't know. It's a symptom that demonstrates the stress that has been put on this country by not understanding our history and what civics are. We just don't understand it. These young people, they have no idea.
No, there's no sense of tradition, very little sense of tradition, and history is just completely lost. They don't even know what happened 2 generations before them. They just live in the now and very gratuitous lives and narcissistic lives that want immediate gratification.
Nobody would believe in communism and socialism, Marxism, Bolshevism, whatever you want to call it. They're all the same thing. But nobody would believe in it if they understood history and reality. But they don't want to.
No, they're not interested. It has no relevance to them today.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought up Huey Long, because there's such a great parallel between him and the Zohan man or whatever he is.
Yeah, but I think that's an insult to Huey Long, as much of a reprobate as he was. You know?
Yeah, good point.
He actually believed in America, you know.
To some extent, he came first, of course, but America came second.
Yes, no doubt about it. Bill, thank you, my man. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Well, I look at my Picardo watch, and a reminder, Picardo Jewelers is your Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, and Seiko Watchstar. It's 11:01:49. We'll be back. Great good morning, everyone. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:08 and 50 seconds here in the great Northeast this beautiful Monday, July 21st, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our friend John Basiliga and one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems, which we're following today, we will honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we lost this year but celebrate today, thanks to John, like Robert Gray of Humlock Creek, Raymond Sayazek, late of Colorado, but he was from Oliphant, Frank Oxtakilnis of Ashley, Jerry Nagoda, Browndale, Thomas Pigeon, German, and Robert Williams of Berwick. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense and assuring you that our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you for the balance of this morning. That's all we can do. We can only do what we can do, right? A lot of you texting in on this. Yeah, Bob, the problem with the Democrat Party is they despise Trump so much, they will lie and be willing to destroy their own character and party to score points with their far-left political views. Makes no sense whatsoever. I don't get it. I really don't. Cabinet guy pointing out that the Clintons were at one of Trump's weddings. It's just, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. Oh, well, you know, that's one of the things I love about Trump. He is not afraid to burn a bridge because he's marching forward. He doesn't care about the bridges behind him. Oh, Lord. Well, as so many great things happen in our area, and we love to talk about them here on the program. And one of the great events is the Scranton Jazz Festival. It's August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in downtown Scranton and at the Scranton Cultural Center. And this is the 20th anniversary. There's 2 ticketed events at the Scranton Cultural Center on Saturday and Sunday, Funk and Soul and the Legends Tower of Power. And we have none other than our man Marco Marcinko, the godfather of the Scranton Jazz Festival. Hi, Marco. How are you, man?
Bob, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
And we got to remember, this is your theme song. Bulldog's going to have to write this down and remember it. Love it. What is Hip by Tower of Power. Hey, Marco, so excited. I don't like the passage of time. But because it's just flying by too quickly. But at the same time, I say, when a great event like this comes around again, it really, boy, what a great tradition. 20 years of the Scranton Jazz Festival.
Yeah, we're celebrating a huge milestone, 20 years of doing this amazing festival that started at Naog Park way back in 2005 and then made its way to the Radisson Hotel for many years and into the downtown Scranton area. And ever since COVID, we really have exploded it into downtown Scranton. And now we have these big theater events at the Cultural Center. Saturday night, August 2nd, you could check out Tower of Power, one of the great touring bands recording funk and soul bands ever in the history of the music. And they've been together over 50 years, and they just sound amazing with some original members still touring. And they're just getting back from Europe, and they're coming right to Scranton. And we're very fortunate to be able to have them as our headliner this year. Hope everyone could check out ScrantonJazzFestival.org to get your tickets for Tower of Power on Saturday, August 2nd. It's an 8 o'clock show. And then Sunday, August 3rd, we have our Emmy-nominated Scranton Jazz Festival Big Band, 17-piece jazz orchestra, presenting a theme called 20 Years of the Scranton Jazz Festival. And we're bringing back some guest artists that have appeared at the Scranton Jazz Festival over the past 20 years. The great French jazz vocalist Ilona Knopfler, Billy Joel's trumpeter Carl Fisher, the great Ron Oswansky, played with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, can play B3 organ. Oh, boy, Nate Berkey, Marianne McSweeney, Sal Giorgiani, who played with Miles Davis in one of Miles' last performances in 1991 at the Montreux Jazz Festival. So we have a real array of great musicians coming to downtown Scranton on August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I will say one more thing, that if you want to go anywhere in the downtown, there's over 20 venues that are hosting jazz, blues, and world beat music, and you can check out the schedule and the map that we have on ScrantonJazzFestival.org, and you can come into the downtown, and it resembles New Orleans for the weekend. It's just amazing.
The way you and the gang reorganized this thing post-COVID to spread it out through the city has been a boon to the whole thing. I mean, you go down and you're hearing music all over the city. You're viewing music all over the city. You could go any place for a drink. There's music. There's jazz. And I'm a fan of yours, and I come see you every year. I just love it. I just love this thing.
Well, we love presenting it because, if you go down to New Orleans or you go into, like, I'll even say the West Village, New York, where all the, down on 7th Avenue South, there's a lot of jazz clubs that you can walk from one place to another and check out. And we try to craft and get that vibe here in downtown Scranton for the weekend. So you can walk one block, you could walk a half a block. There's music in the street. There's a brass band playing somewhere in an open air area. Any restaurant that you go to right in that walking vicinity on Linden, North Washington, etc., you're going to find music everywhere, and great music, because the artists that are playing are international, national, regional, and locals that all just play at a great level, and we have a good time.
Scranton Jazz Festival this year, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Downtown Scranton, and that is downtown, the Scranton Cultural Center. Amazing stuff. How many musicians are you trying to assemble or have committed so far for the entire 3 days, or for parts of the 3 days?
It's over 90 musicians.
Wow.
Over the whole weekend, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, that are coming from many different places. And, on Friday, you could hear a whole, like I said, go to 20 different places, 23 different venues. You're going to hear all sorts of music. Saturday, the same thing. Then with the 2 ticketed events at the Cultural Center on Saturday and Sunday. We'll also mention that on Sunday, we used to have one brunch, jazz brunch, and we would have that in one particular location. It's gotten so big now with the brunches. We have 6 different jazz brunches throughout the city. We had you mentioned John Basiliga earlier. So at Terra 519, we have a jazz brunch happening.
That'd be a good one.
At the Hilton's PJ's Pub, we have a brunch happening. At the Radisson Carmen's 2.0, we have a brunch happening. At Posh, we have a brunch happening. At Bartari, we have a brunch happening. So, there's a whole bunch of different places that are joining us to do the jazz brunch thing, and that's from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. So that's an awesome thing, too.
Well, we've only got, what do we have, 10 days till we get there? 11 days before it happens. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's July 20th, so we got another 11 days and we kick it off, right?
Yeah. So tell me, when are you going to call back in again just to remind people? Maybe we'll do it at a different hour. I really love when this thing succeeds, and it has every year. It makes the whole city, it makes the whole region shine.
Well, it's special for a couple of reasons. It's special for, like you were saying earlier, the economic development. The town is booming. People are patronizing different places. People come from outside our area. It shows off downtown Scranton. People get a chance to see the beautiful murals that are happening that Rosa and Gazzo Pizzuto is forefronting with all these different great murals that are happening in the downtown when they're walking around. They get a chance to visit our restaurants, our bars, and different establishments, retail establishments over the weekend. So it's all an exciting thing for the visual and for the economic development. But then for me, the most important element is the live music, just presenting so much live music so people get a chance to experience it. There's nothing like hearing this music, blues, jazz, world beat music. You must experience it live because the effect it has on you live is much different than, checking out something on your phone or on YouTube, on your computer, or listening, in your car. The live experience is a unique experience unto itself, and that's such an important part of what we try to do for the weekend.
Well, so many people that I see at the performances I go to, it's like we're having a reunion with them. So I'm looking forward to it. And maybe, Marco, we could get you on the air Friday. You pick at 9 or 10 o'clock hour to talk about this again, because it is a hallmark event for Northeast Pennsylvania, for the city of Scranton.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thanks. I'll try to talk to you again. I know I'll be seeing you at the festival, and hopefully some of your listeners that appreciate the show so much as we do with the Scranton Jazz Festival will come out on August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd and come to downtown Scranton and have a great time.
You got it, my man. Marco Marcinko, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the 20th edition of the Scranton Jazz Festival. Man, it's exciting just saying it. Thank you, my man. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to come back after we hear from our great sponsors with a little history, a little music, and then your calls at 570-883-0098. Call or text, whichever. Bad Leroy Brown, Jim Croce, his first number one hit. Murph says this date, 1973. Croce said that Leroy Brown was based on a fellow he met in the Army a few years earlier. How about that? I never knew that. Bob Cordaro back on the program. That Jazz Festival, I'm telling you guys, I don't care what kind of music you like. If you enjoy music, if you enjoy musical talent, that August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, go to downtown Scranton. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. You're just going to love it. And if you like to drink too, like I do, you like to drink and eat, it's the place to be the whole weekend. It's really remarkable. Well, here's our friend Laureen Cummings from Old Forge, and she's calling in about the court ruling on Lackawanna County Home Rule Charter, and that the appeal of Bill Gaughan wasting. I'm telling you, I know Chris Chermak and PJ LaBelle are watching. Do not spend a penny of our money on your political battles. How are you, Laureen?
I'm okay. How you doing, Bob?
Good.
Well, I just hope they go by the Home Rule Charter and don't take pieces like they plan on, because I went to the election board meeting, and I asked when the special election was going to be, or if they were going to have the election for the temporary placement for the commissioner in November. And I was told they weren't going to have an election for that, and they were going to let them fill out the entire 2 years following that, which is against the Home Rule Charter. So
have they ever had a special election? I don't recall. I mean, the two replacements, I remember when A.J. Munchak left and when Randy Castellani left.
Yes, and Bruce Malcolm filled in as well, and they had an election. So
they did have an election or did not? I don't remember. I don't think they did.
It's always the next election. It's always the next election. So
and what, for that one, they would have an election, they'd throw in for that one spot, or would the commissioner's race come up? Okay.
No, it would be for that one spot, but it would be for both parties would have to vote.
Okay. Yeah, but you can't.
I mean, they should have an election in November for it.
All right, I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's the Home Rule Charter's rule. And if they're not going to do that, then I'm going to sue the county, because they have to follow the Home Rule Charter. That's what the court said.
Mm-hmm.
They can't take a piece from the state law and then a piece from the Home Rule Charter law. They have to follow one or the other, and the judges said the Home Rule Charter. So that means, and it's right in the Home Rule Charter, I pulled it, and it says it's a temporary position, and it's filled within the next election.
Okay, very interesting. That's something I had never even thought about. So what you're saying is that there would be an appointment for county commissioner to replace Matt McGloin, and then there would be a separate election for just that seat in November.
Correct.
Okay.
According to the Home Rule Charter. That's the Home Rule Charter.
Well, keep us apprised on this, Laureen. That's very different than it's been done before. And
no,
so
it's not. No, no, it's not, because we've replaced them in the Republican Party too, and they may have fallen within that time frame of the next election in November, but it's still like the county commissioner seat maybe. I'd have to go back, but
I don't remember them having a separate county commissioner election. Just for example, Washoe replaced Randy Castellani, but there was the next municipal election, they didn't have anybody step up. They didn't have an election.
I don't know about that one. I don't remember that one. I just remember when Bruce Malcolm filled in, and I remember when Corey O'Brien left. He left right before the commissioner's actual election anyway. Okay. So they didn't have to have one. So that might be why, because the next election actually was the county commissioner's race. Just like now Maury Kelly's race has kind of come up too. So I want to see what they're going to do with that. Let's see how they fill that one, because that's why I thought they were waiting, because they were going to wait until her election was over. But, I mean, same thing with her. That's the way it's supposed to be in the Home Rule Charter.
Interesting. Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention, Laureen. We appreciate it always.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All righty. Have a great day.
You too. So maybe a special election is on tap in Lackawanna County. Hey, we've got to hear from our great sponsors. And I got to tell you, I'm doing my push-ups, but I love hearing from them and hearing about them and what they do and what they offer. Because I tell you, we got the greatest companies, many of them family-owned that advertise. And then even, again, I'm not a psychic guy, but I do the, the whistle. It just gets in your head, doesn't it? All right, we'll take this break to hear from them. And we'll come back with the Veterans Tribute, the weather, and then more. 570-883-0098 to call in or to text. Our great veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. Focusing today, though, this Monday, on Eastern Roofing Systems. They're headquartered in Jessup. They do commercial, institutional, and huge projects all over the Eastern United States and beyond. But guess what? They bring that expertise to your home, to your small business, to your small building, right here in Northeast Pennsylvania exclusively. Eastern Roofing Systems, just. Thomas Pidgeon, he was from German. He was 91 when he passed June 29th. He was living at the Gino Murley Veterans Center. Graduate of St. Patrick's High School in Oliphant, where he excelled as a student athlete. He was a sharpshooter in basketball. He proudly served us in the U.S. Army's 11th Airborne Division and later was employed and retired from Transcontinental Gas Pipeline Bear Creek. After retirement, like his father, Thomas served as a sexton of Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary Parish in German, where he was a lifelong parishioner. He was always doing something and never shy to lend a helping hand. He'd don the costume of the Easter Bunny, Smokey the Bear, or Santa Claus. Master gardener, could fix anything. And could fit 8 little leaguers in the back seat of a 1977 Volkswagen Beetle. Ah, the old days. He never missed one of his children's school, sports, or life events. He's survived by his wife, Margaret, other family members, and 12 children. Quite amazing. Blessed with 31 grandchildren, 13 great-grandchildren, many beloved nieces, nephews, neighbors, and countless friends. Tragically, he was preceded in death by sons Brian, Michael, and Timothy, and even more tragically, a grandson, Matthew. Amazing legacy. Thomas Pidgeon. Robert Williams, Mason by trade, active in VFW. He was 74 when he passed June 13th. He was from Berwick. Attended Berwick High School, then joined the United States Army back in 1968, serving during the Vietnam War, and then afterwards in the Army Reserves. He left service in 1974. He worked and retired from Masonry Preservation Services and was a member of the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 5 Union, member of the VFW, once serving there as commander and senior vice president at his passing. He considered his brothers and sisters of the VFW his extended family. He was an avid and passionate hunter, loved horses, beloved friend to all. He'll be missed by many. Robert Williams is survived by 4 daughters, 7 grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and many other family members. Robert Williams, our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and one of his great companies, the first of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems. From meteorologist Anthony Bordenaro, today sunny and less humid, 76. Tonight partly cloudy and cool, 52. Tuesday mostly sunny, high 78. Wednesday partly cloudy, 84 degrees. And then it gets hot after that, is what I've been hearing. We'll oh, yeah. I don't know. What is a Kodachrome? You guys might have to help me on this because, I mean, he's saying I got a Nikon camera. Well, I assume the Kodachrome was something to do with Kodak. Because remember, Murph says this is July 21st, 1973. Paul Simon as a solo act, he moved up to number 5 with that great song. I love that song. But I'd have to find this out. I assumed the Kodachrome was some sort of Kodak product. And then he says, I got a Nikon camera. I never thought of it till today. Yep. That's how the P-Brain works. Bob Cordaro back with you on WILK. By the way, I hope you like it. That is Sam Elliott, the great actor. He was one of my favorites, and a veteran. He wasn't a veteran of World War II, but Sam Elliott, who's still with us, and I don't even know where he was giving the speech, but I saw that, and I said, man, what a great intro to our veterans segment. Okay, all right, somebody said, Bob, Kodachrome is the film that they would use for the slides. Okay. So why, but come on, back then you could have used a Kodak camera. What the hell? I mean, you know. Anyway, okay, so Kodachrome is the film for slides. Fair enough. Thank you for that. I appreciate it because, you know, and Mr. Paul texted in quickly, my executive producer, film. It's film. So don't take my film away, but I've got a Nikon camera. Well, yeah, Kodak did screw the pooch, as we all know. When I was living in Rochester at the University of Rochester, from 1979 to 1983, Kodak had about, I think it was 66,000 employees. Now, it doesn't sound like much today, but the lowest incomes, lowest salary, from the guys who swept to whatever else they did, the lowest salary was like 20 grand, which was a lot of money back in those years. It was like a good living wage. And I remember when I was student teaching at St. Thomas Aquinas High School, I would drive every day by the Kodak headquarters. What an iconic, gorgeous building. It was only like 15 stories or maybe 20, but in the downtown area. But a gorgeous sort of French chateau deal. And it was neat. My man Marco Marcinko lets me know he's going to be coming with one of his other great organized Sarah efforts this Friday at the to the studio. Hey, by the way, a couple of things to quickly mention. If you go, all right, it's important for our listeners to know, the Bob Cordaro Show is also a podcast. You can find me anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. You get the full episode, listen to an individual hour, or jump straight to the highlights. Just open up your favorite podcast app, search Bob Cordaro, Cordaro, hit the follow button, and you'll get every minute of every show available to you. You don't have to listen to it, but if you press follow, then it's accessible to you. And if you want to get a specific must-listen moment, like, you know, well, in the old days, before Frank completely lost his mind, if you want to hear something like that, You can head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcast, and replay all the biggest moments from the last hour. Search Bob Cordaro, and it'll be right there. And then the whole show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Search Bob Cordaro on your favorite app. Hit the follow button, and you can catch every episode. It's pretty cool stuff. A lot of people do that, actually. Somebody pointed out Kodachrome was a special type of film. And another, it's a film, Bob, and better colors. It had better colors, the Kodachrome deal. All right. I'm with you. I believe you. By the way, we're not going to get to it, but two different historical moments. 1969, Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin blasted off on this date that year from the moon that already landed on the moon and all that. And they were going up to dock with the command module to come back to Earth. And then in 2011, in the other space news, the 30-year-old space shuttle program ended as Atlantis landed at Cape Canaveral, Florida, after the 135th shuttle flight we had. Isn't that amazing stuff? What a great country this is. Unbelievable. You keep these lunatics out of the way, and we will keep being great and better than everybody else. Just keep the lunatics out of it. Like Mondami and these clowns proclaiming socialism, communism, Marxism as though it's a good thing, as though it works somewhere. I mean, your mind is like Bernie. Yeah, the clown who he and AOC fly on private jets to complain about oligarchs. You can't make up how stupid they are. You just can't make it up. Well, we need to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll come back because we got more to say, more to do. Somebody telling me they're hearing another radio station crossing over with 103.1 in Wyoming County. Well, you can switch to 910 and probably get that, 910 a.m. I don't understand why that would be happening. Tell me which one it is if you get a chance. That was Ray Parker, Ghostbusters. It went from number 8 to number 3 this date, 1980. It's hard to believe it's that long ago. And it's funny because my kids, now my oldest son, Michael, we got him the pack and the laser gun and everything. But see, that was like late 80s, early 90s. And he would watch Ghostbusters over and over and over again. And I asked him, did he show, he's 2 daughters and a grandson on the way. I said, did you show him Ghostbusters? I'm now thinking about it for my grandson, Ben, as well. Did you show Ghostbusters to the kids? And I think they should. We should have a Ghostbusters thing. It's a great movie. Really is family friendly. They could get a little scared, but come on. That's okay. Yeah, well, maybe you got to wait a year. I don't know. Hey, by the way, we're finishing today with crooner Tony Bennett. Because Murph tells us his musical career lasted 8 decades. He finally passed away at the age of 96. This date, 2023. Bennett won 18 Grammys. He placed 13 songs on the Billboard Top 40 charts. And, of course, the one he's most famous for, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And that's what Murph chose to play to wrap things up today. Isn't that great? You got to love it. God knows what you'd leave in San Francisco today. You might leave some of your blood. Yeah. Well, the Sue Henry show comes up next. Rob O'Donnell's show after that. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning to do this all again because it is absolutely necessary. But a final mention of our great veterans. Thomas Pidgeon, German. Robert Gray, Hunlock Creek. Raymond Sayazek, late of Colorado, but he was an Oliphant guy. Frank Oxtakalnis, he was from Ashley. Jerry Nagoda, Browndale. And Robert Williams, Berwick. God bless them. God bless their families. Oh, what this left has done to such that beautiful city. Tony Bennett. We are adjourned.